Mortal Kombat is an awesome series, but, oh, I love adding those but parts. The most fun starts with them. But Mortal Kombat is far from being perfect. The failures the developers committed are kind of huge, and only the cumulative amount of success they have with other aspects makes so many people not see anything bad with MK. Would I be that naughty to bring those failures to everyone's attention? Well, yes, of course. This whole video is about them, and I can't wait to see the deranged fans in the comments. Okay, almost every fighting game has this flaw. Developers work on individual movesets, making characters fun to play, and they try to keep the balance of power across the whole roster, preventing a few character picks from dominating in usual casual matches and the competitive scene. But balancing the game is quite an art. It's hard, and probably impossible, to reach perfection in it. It feels like the Mortal Kombat games take the imbalanced path more often than other titles, or at least they go above and beyond with this issue. And there are many reasons for this. Shorter lifespans cause less time for testing and balancing. Yes, we will talk about the lifespans in more detail later. Some characters got substantially more attention and probably even love from the developers. Maybe it's an effect of supporting hype around the game, say for the DLC characters. Or maybe it's the idea of strengthening specific mechanics to highlight unique features of a release. The result can be clearly seen in the latest games. Mortal Kombat 9 may leave good memories, but its balance was rather awful, as some characters had broken aspects in their movesets. You were almost obliged to pick Cabal, Kenshi, Freddy, Raiden, or Kung Lao if you played competitively, and they strongly dominated the scene. Smoke is a good example of a broken character in this game. He could teleport and catch an opponent anywhere on the screen with his X-ray attack. It was hard to counterplay this move, as every attempt at zoning with projectiles or trying to approach and open him up with normals could be ruined by that teleportation. Any whiff was absolutely disastrous. Smoke players just had to find a moment to deliver their X-ray hit. It guaranteed some damage and potentially one of Smoke's destructive combos. In Mortal Kombat X, we have another broken character, Tremor. His crystalline variation allowed players to accumulate special armor during a fight and absorb hits instead of damaging Tremor. That didn't come at the cost of any important moves like projectiles or quick normals, as it often happens with variations. You kept all of the character's many advantages and had the armor as an extra bonus. As a result, Tremor was overpowered, and his competitive presence pretty much proved that. Mortal Kombat 11 delivered a rather broken mechanic: breakaways. It allowed players to free their characters from an opponent's combo during its juggling phase. After using breakaway, you got armor and could punish the opponent with a quick attack that starts your own combo instead. The idea of the mechanic was to give a good defensive option and decrease the potential combo damage, but it could leave a character that uses breakaway an advantage and let them punish opponents for landing combos, for just doing everything right. Breakaways may sound okay on paper, but they did not work well in practice. This may have also been caused from a lack of thorough testing. NRS has been greatly criticized for imbalance over the years. This tradition is unlikely to change though, as the current business model with short lifespans and hype around some characters or mechanics is quite successful and brings attention and revenue. I kind of expect some pro players to call the esports support by NRS ridiculous, but let's be honest, it could be much worse. Keeping objectivity here, the pro competition series does exist, but the prize pools for those tournaments do not correspond to the popularity level of the game. Travel for events are limited because you can't cover even basic expenses. Imagine taking a trip to Combo Breaker and finishing 5th with $350 in your pocket. It's a wasted opportunity for the developers. As with some investment in esports, the scale of the MK scene would increase significantly. It's not just about traveling, it's even more about time invested in the game. Being a professional player is often a full-time job. Capcom tries not to miss this chance with their impressive prize pool for the Street Fighter 6 League. The format is a mess, alright, and the money division is still broken, but they try to expand their presence, and this is good. Mortal Kombat could reach much more in this regard. Maybe taking notes from other genres would help, like selling cosmetic to fund global leagues. I feel that so many players would give their dollar for such a project. The Mortal Kombat series has 12 main games in 31 years, which is great if you're up to experiencing something new every now and then. The developers experiment a lot with various mechanics, and the major MK games are pretty different from each other. Considering the time and energy needed to develop your skills in a specific competitive environment, you wouldn't want that effort to become pointless too soon. For the developers, short lifespans mean having less time to polish their product and unleash the full potential of the fighting system, which brings issues with quality and balance. Look at Street Fighter. The series has 7 games in 36 years, with around 18 ultra super updated versions. Tekken follows relatively the same tradition to let the games live longer. The developers have more time to work on major releases, balance them properly, and deliver more content, which is great for casuals and hardcore players alike. Having more time with the game also gives both players and developers more opportunities to understand and explore the mechanics, leading to better competition and more thought-out changes. This scales up pro leagues, brings more excitement to the community, and has obvious benefits for the companies. If NRS had a different approach to their release schedule, we could get better games and have more time to enjoy them. The esports dimension of Mortal Kombat could grow substantially, as the competitors would know that their effort will bring long-term results. Wait, how can the whole game be a failure? MK1 is good and everything. No worries there. But at the same time, it manifests quite a lot of failure. We decided to add a special section just for it. Unbalanced? Check. The developers took quite some time after MK11 to deliver this installment, but it still feels unbalanced. For instance, poor Sub-Zero fights for his life, while Johnny Cage destroys everyone just by entering the stage. Or at least, it feels like that. Small esports support? Check. The prize pool of pro competition does not correspond to the game's popularity. The general communication around the league is kind of lacking. What could happen to the scene if the community would not be that enthusiastic? The development issues go as far as selling a totally broken Switch port. Sure, the console is underpowered, but the possible solutions could be cloud streaming, a simplified version, like say Skullgirls Mobile, or even not releasing MK1 on the Switch at all. The problems with porting do not end with the Switch though. The game was ported to PC by a different company, leading to bizarre oversights like the different combo scaling on PC and PlayStation for Omni-Man. Considering similar issues with porting MK11 to the Switch and PC, NRS simply repeats older mistakes, which is not good. Having deep, game-breaking bugs in the game is also embarrassing, as the company has enough funds and experience to avoid them. For instance, the so-called Player 1 advantage is one of these issues. For quite a while, Player 1 could land massive combos that didn't work for Player 2, and the bug remained even after switching sides. This totally ruined the experience, and addressing this bug wasn't fast enough. Well, it shouldn't have been there in the first place. The requirement of being constantly connected to servers, even for some single-player modes, is not a gamer-friendly decision. Without the internet, you can't get XP or rewards after completing towers or even playing Invasion. It's certainly a failure, as other games from other genres already received backlash for this, like Gran Turismo 7, but the lesson wasn't learned. Not only is this inconvenient for some players, for example, when the network is not too developed in your region, but also this requirement creates additional load on the servers, causing laggy matches or even unplayable periods. There aren't proper lobbies, and we are 2 months into the release at the moment of creating this video. Ranked forces you to accept matches with bad connections, which is totally weird. No one wants to suffer through a slideshow of a fight. The single-player invasion mode is quite questionable, as it's grindy and repetitive, with linear exploration, and some annoying advantages for the opponents, like armor or powerful spells. Such a package of failures is really weird for a company at the scale of NRS, and the high expectations its community has for it makes these even more painful. Bad animations in the Mortal Kombat games are kind of a key feature at this point. The developers try to fix that over the years, but even later installments have them. The quality of in-game animations is exceptional in the cinematic parts, but it drops in the actual fights for stances and moves. Intro scenes for some characters are ruined with their awkwardly stiff facial expressions. Idle animations, the way the characters behave while not fighting, is a big issue in many MK games. While such stances have to unveil something of the character's personality and make them alive, MK fighters feel unnatural. Sometimes it seems like they are dancing. Sometimes their idle animations are too chaotic to make any sense. This aspect is somewhat improved in MK11 and MK1 though. As for the fighting animations, some moves feel like a joke. Take a look at Katana's crouching kick in MKX. Strengthening the leg in this position without really moving the body is unnatural and broken. Many other cases of bad animations also come from desynchronization of body parts. The lower body makes a jump, the upper body does nothing. Limbs and the rest of the body don't reflect kicks and punches properly, as if legs and arms act strictly on their own. That's not how fighting moves work. Coordination of start or end stances with the active phase is lacking. The attack power is not necessarily connected to how the moves have been animated. There's just so much wrong here. These issues may not be that serious for the inattentive eye, but it's plagued the series for years. It feels like the tradition of developing realistic visuals has its technological downside, and the NRS guys don't want to adjust it. Maybe because of the art ideas, maybe because of the production processes, who knows? Usually everything is fine with Mortal Kombat characters. Who would dare to say something bad about the freezing abilities of Sub-Zero or the deadly hook of Scorpion? All sorts of timekeepers and thunder gods are here, mystic creatures with mind-blowing abilities, but sometimes Mortal Kombat doesn't follow its own high standards. Some of the characters that appear in the series don't feel unique and thought out enough to get such an honor. They may feel like not belonging to the MK tradition, or like repeating previous ideas. Cobra is a good example of this type. He feels like Ken from Street Fighter. For the epic standard of Mortal Kombat, it's something too generic and unoriginal. Kai represents a different issue. He is a weaker version of another MK character. Kai is a Shaolin monk, and he seems to be a copy of Liu Kang, but a rather bland one, worse in many aspects. In Armageddon and Deception, his damage is unbelievably low, with almost no chance to scale it. His specials are totally unsafe, and his only interesting move, vertical fireballs, has extremely small hitboxes. Hasu Hao does not copy anyone, but he is boring in story, appearance, and moveset. The guy just got killed in both of his games with no notable impact on the MK universe. The story has no mercy on him, and the developers hated him. If not for that heart implant, he would look like someone from an ancient adult movie or a generic muscle general. In the fights, he is forgettable. Nothing to be impressed by. Perhaps only his laughable mime-like stance. Even his only fatality in Armageddon is a simple laser beam from the chest. Many consider him one of the worst characters in Mortal Kombat history. Such characters lack the creative power that is usually so unstoppable for Mortal Kombat, but sometimes the creative approach takes a weird turn. Bo Raicho is a prominent example of that. He drinks a special potion to puke intentionally and to make opponents slip. It's an important part of his moveset, so you play around surrounded by vomit, basically rolling in it. And his fatality is a nice, strong fart to create flames and burn the victim. It feels so disgusting that Bo Raicho can't overcome that embarrassment to shine with his other fighting abilities. These failures may come from the desire to bring a lot of characters to the roster, but the developers did not have the time to elaborate on them properly. Those generic and weird fighters look especially bad in comparison to the others, the most prominent and beloved personalities in the whole fighting games culture. I know, many people prefer listening to their own special playlist when dominating people, or getting destroyed. That happens too. We at DashFight have even created a special Spotify playlist for Mortal Kombat matches. So, music is probably not that important, right? Still, it is such an integrated part of the experience. Play Guilty Gear Strive with the original soundtrack. It's so epic. Or treat yourself to the amazing vibes of Underbirth. Someone would even say the music here is better than the game itself. And the game is really good. Music of the modern Mortal Kombat games feels generic and uninspiring, as if the developers wrote a technical description of what they think should be there, and then the soundtrack was forced to follow that task, without a real flight of creativity involved. Music could create an atmosphere and be memorable, but it's forgettable instead and unremarkable. Give the artist more freedom and let the synergy create an awesome product. Maybe that can be solved and MK music will have a bigger impact in the future. It's great how the Mortal Kombat developers are brave enough to experiment with new mechanics and features. It's awful though when those experiments fail. The variation system in MKX and 11 gives you different playstyles for the same character. Players have to choose one of the builds, which means some parts of the moveset will be taken at the cost of some others. In a way, it's very confusing for players, especially casual ones. They suddenly have even more options to learn. It also intensifies the training process for dedicated players. 3 variations for each opponent means they have so many matchup situations, and you have to be ready for every single one of them. But the biggest problem with variations comes from basically limiting options for each character. Players have to decide what to take for every match instead of having a full moveset available. This system denies full flexibility and creativity in the ever-changing chaos of fighting matches. In a way, these variations had to solve the imbalance issue after MK9 and make more characters viable in the competitive scene. But the approach of enabling full movesets for everyone, it's just better. Sure, not all experiments with gameplay mechanics turn out to be brilliant, but they should bring new ideas to improve the experience, not try to solve the previous issues. It doesn't really feel like variations improve fights and introduce something exciting to the gameplay. That's why they are on our list. Okay, let's stop torturing gamers' hearts by highlighting bad aspects of probably their favorite fighting title, or even simply by reminding them about them. Now, are any of these failures critical? Probably not, because Mortal Kombat sells really well. But for me, sometimes I wonder if the series could make it from its early stage, game 1, without gore and blood and controversy, just on the basis of fighting mechanics. Who knows? Who knows? Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to learn more about fighting games, news, learn how to play a character better, whatever, head on over to DashFight.com. We've got you covered. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.